All right, guys, we are officially done. We're going to fire it up in a second for you. But look how beautiful this is. That is how to properly restore the engine compartment of an 85 300 CD. Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hello, welcome back to the Woods and Barclay channel. Today I'm continuing the video series on the 1985 Desert Red 300 CD, and I think this is going to be the last mechanical video, and then it's going to the alignment shop. I've got it scheduled tomorrow for 3 o'clock. So hopefully I can get all this done by tomorrow at 3 o'clock. But today we're going to do zinc plating in the engine compartment. And we're also going to do some fluids and filters at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and dive in. In the last video, we did a valve adjustment and went ahead and removed a lot of the throttle linkage. We haven't removed the injector lines yet because all that stuff is getting replaced. We're taking out the battery tray, refinishing the air cleaner housing assembly, doing everything in the engine compartment. And over here on the table, I already have laid out all of our freshly zinc plated parts. Our cruise control, mounting brackets, high pressure power steering hose, low pressure fittings, all the clips and screws. There's all our throttle linkage assembly. There's our throttle actuator, actuating rods, radiator supports, the base plate for all our linkages, the battery hold down brackets, the cruise control cover, the injector lines, the clips on the air filter housing, all of it. And you can see there's all the old stuff that I took off. Now, there's still going to be some more stuff that comes off. But the point of zinc plating, guys, this is how they came from the factory. For example, this car over here, there's a little bit left. It hasn't all worn off, and you can see some of the zinc plating is still on these pieces here. But what that zinc plating it's a corrosion inhibitor. So rather than the parts rusting, the zinc plating will slowly wear off, and it prevents parts from rusting. And on most of these cars, they're 40 years old, the stuff is already worn off. It's rare to find it with it still on the car. So anyway, that's an explanation of what the zinc plating is. So this is exactly what it looked like from the factory. I've actually compared my plating to extremely low mileage original cars that have the plating still on there. And it looks identical to this. Now, don't get me wrong, this is an 81,000 mile coupe. That is very low mileage for one of these cars. I'm talking about like the 10,000 mile cars that I've seen that, lived in a garage their entire life and never were driven. I've had a chance to compare this plating to those cars, and it's a dead-on match. So anyway, enough talking. Let's go over here, and I'm going to start by removing these injector lines and the cruise control actuator. Okay, so the injector lines are 17 millimeter, and you can crack them loose. There you go, with a 17 millimeter wrench. We're just going to go down each one of these. Here we go. But down at the bottom, I like to use, let's get these ones on the top first. Down on the bottom, I like to use a crow's foot. It makes it easier. Let me show you guys that. Now, down here at the bottom, it's the same fittings, but they go into the injection pump. In order to get down there on them, you see them right there? I like to put a crow's foot down there. That way we can get around there like that and get those off. So I'll go ahead and crack these loose, and then we can get these injector hard lines off of here. There we go, there's one. now I can just do it by hand and go ahead and remove these. Okay, I've got these loose, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull these off of here, and we're just going to immediately put on our replated ones. That way I don't have to worry about covering up the injector inputs with tape to keep dust and stuff out of there. All right, here's the nice new zinc plated ones. Doesn't that look beautiful? Let me go ahead and get these on the engine. Okay, I have our re-zinc plated lines on here. I've tightened down all the little brackets and tightened them back to the injectors in the injection pump. Now let's go work on our base plate and throttle linkage. All right, so here we have the original base plate with the throttle linkage. Now here is our re-zinc plated 85 base plate, and then all the linkages you see here and here, that's those right here. And then our cruise control mounting bracket here, and then all of our connecting rods are here. So there's a couple of pieces we need off of here. This right here, this switch, is your AC shutoff switch. Under full throttle, your linkage will go this way, and it will click that shutoff switch, and that will shut off the AC to give you, like, you know, a couple of extra horsepower. It's kind of funny how Mercedes did that. But we just basically unscrew that, and we can transfer this to our new base plate. And I've actually never seen one of these fail, guys. All it is a little mechanical switch. All right. Now we need all the little E-clips for our bushings. So I'm going to pull off all those E-clips. There's one over here. And there's one underneath there. And there's one right here. Because we're completely rebuilding the throttle linkage with all freshly cleaned and zinc plated parts. Now, underneath this linkage here is our return spring. Now let's see if we can pull this up. I'm going to grab it from the underside here. We'll just pull it off there. It might be a little easier. There we go. And we'll pull this guy off. There we go. And here is our return spring. That allows your throttle to return to neutral position after you let off the accelerator. And that is actually going to go onto our base plate like that. And guys, that's really all I need off the old linkage. All right, so let's set this aside. Oh, sorry, one last thing I've already done. I'll just show you guys. I took all of our linkages, and they're adjustable. You have little lock nuts. So I made sure all my linkages were adjusted the exact same length as the linkages that came off the car. There we go. And we got this one short one here. And you see all these are the same length, so I don't need to adjust them once I put them back on the car. All right, so we're going to move this out of the way. And let's start reassembling our linkage. Now, I want some automatic transmission fluid when I do this. I like to lubricate everything with transmission fluid. All right, so first piece we're going to put on is this one right here. And I'm going to put a little lubrication on there and down in there. There we go. And we put our little E-clip around the top of it. Perfect. Now I want to put on our main linkage, and this is where the return spring connects. Now let's put a little lubrication down on there. There we go. And let's push that right down there. There we go. See, there's how the return spring works. All right, now we want to put another E-clip right here on the base. Like that. Now our Bowden cable lever goes right here. Now see this little tab? It's important. It goes on this side of the tab, not the other side. If it goes on the other side, this is where your transmission Bowden cable connects, and if it's on the wrong side, it won't correctly pull that cable. There we go. So see, there's a tab right there. So it pulls it and then springs back. If it's on the wrong side, like that, it won't pull that. So put it on the right side, put it there, and we put our E-clip back on here. There we go. All right, next one we want to do is our cruise control linkage. We're gonna put a little lubrication there and in here, put that on there, reattach our E-clip. All right, guys, that is reassembled exactly how it's supposed to be. All right, let's go put these on the car, and then we're going to attach our linkages. Actually, a couple of the linkages I can actually attach right here on the workbench. So we're gonna lubricate the little ball socket, put that on there. Now, sometimes we have to grab a, some vice grips to clip that on there, or channel locks, but that one just went on smoothly. And the other one, we're going to lubricate there and there, and see if we can get this one on. There we go. All right, we're going to set our base plate right here. That guy's going to go right there on top of it. And I do zinc plate the bolts also. Now this is aluminum, so you don't want to crank these down, guys. This is an aluminum valve cover. So you just snug these bolts up. You don't want to strip your valve cover. All right, let's attach our cruise control bracket here. This is our plug for the AC shutoff switch. And that goes right there. Plug that back in, and we route that guy right there. All right, let me snug these bolts down. And like I said, guys, these are this is an aluminum valve cover. You barely snug them up. There we go. That's not going anywhere. All right, let's go ahead. Now we're going to get our throttle linkage that goes into the firewall back here and runs up and connects to these linkages. All right, here's our firewall throttle linkage. There we go. And I'm going to lubricate the end a little bit. We're going to come right through here. Now I'm going to, sorry it's raining outside, so I don't know how loud that just got. I'm going to lubricate this guy here. And slide that back through here. All right, now back here on the firewall, there's a cotter pin, and right here, there's an E-clip, and then right here, there's another clip. So let me get those 3 clips. Back there on the firewall, we have a cotter pin that holds our linkage together, or holds it to the firewall bushing. There we go. We got that installed. Now, right here, we have an E-clip. Now, guys, if you drop this, just get some more E-clips on Amazon. These are very easy to drop. There we go. We got that one on here. And then Mercedes makes this really weird clip. I don't even know what you call that, but that's what goes on the linkage right there. There we go. And I'm going to show you why I think that that clip is really unnecessary. So that clip goes right there. This cannot move because it's into the firewall, and this cannot move because it's connected right here. So I don't know why Mercedes chose to put that clip there, because it's impossible for that piece to pull out, but we'll go ahead and put it there. Now let's go ahead and snap back on our linkage here, and over here, let me go ahead and get some transmission fluid. All right, hopefully that's a good shot for you. We're going to go ahead, lubricate our linkage here, and we'll put it right there. Now, you have to use like channel locks to kind of snap these back in place. Here we go. And we'll lubricate this one and that one. Guys, the reason I use automatic transmission fluid is because it doesn't attract dust like heavy grease does. Because you don't want to get a lot of dust and crud up in here. Oh, look at that. Look how nice and smooth that is. That's perfect. All right, let me get the injection pump reconnected down here. Right there. There we go. Guys, look at that. Perfectly rebuilt and lubricated throttle linkage. All right, let's go ahead and get the cruise control lines connected. Actually, first, before I do that, I want to take the cruise control actuator off of here. And this piece right here was zinc plated from the factory along with the base plate. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, we're going to remove the cruise control module now, and it plugs in over here on the firewall. And we have some reusable zip ties that Mercedes installs. We need to go ahead and get those off of here. There we go. And this routes up underneath here. There we go. And there's one more zip tie. We're going to reapply these. All right, there we go. All right, cruise control actuator. Let's take this to the bench. All right, here's the cruise control actuator, and you can see the mounting base looks like that from the factory, and the cap on the front looks like that. So we want to go ahead, we're going to remove the cap and the now on the, let's see, the left side behind the inside washer is an actual spacer, and we re-zinc plate the spacer too, and that goes behind there, makes it fit correctly. And there's one on the back. Okay, now we can remove this, and you'll see our spacer will fall out with our washers. There's our spacer, and we'll send all that off to be replated. All right, now to take this cap off, there are some 7mm nuts we got to remove, or bolts we have to remove here. And then this comes straight off. And there's your cruise control motor underneath there. And we want to take this little plastic ring out and reapply the plastic ring right here. You can see how clean the motor is in there. I mean, it's never been opened up. Now there's a magnet inside of here, so getting it back on there sometimes can be tricky. Here we go. All right, now let's put back in our retaining screws. All right, there we go. Now, let's remount it on our refinished base plate, spacer, and washer. Go in here There we go. Now we also have our base plate, which we want to reinstall on the car. There we go. There's our new cruise control actuator with the new base plate. Let's go get this stuff back on the car. Now right here, there's 3 bolts that hold this to the base plate. And there's 2 bolts with washers that hold the base plate to the car. Okay, here's where all that mounts. But before I mount it, I want to remove this original insulation from the AC manifold. It just gets kind of crusty and brittle. So I like to rewrap this insulation. So let's go ahead, pull this off of here. There you go. It's just a foam insulation that gets brittle with age. And I'll show you, we rewrap it with pipe insulation, because what is that? That's a pipe. And what is this I'm taking off? It's pipe insulation. So you can get that stuff at your Home Depot. All right, let me get this last little piece out and I'll get our new pipe insulation. Okay, here we go. Here is our pipe insulation. And we just slice open the back like that. And we can feed this down on here. And then we cut it to length. Now right over here, there's the AC mounting bracket. So I like to slice the back of it so it fits around that AC mounting bracket. Okay, so right here, you notice the pipe insulation goes underneath our main vacuum hard line. And this is the vacuum hard line that plugs into our vacuum pump. So I went ahead and I loosened, there's a nut right there. Went ahead and loosened that. Now we need to follow it up the vacuum line. And that's where it attaches right there to the main vacuum line. So we're actually replacing this piece because that's another zinc plated part. So we're going to stick our wrench on here and we'll crack that loose. Here we go. Unscrew that here. All right, then we need to use a Allen to undo it here, and we can pull that piece out, slide our insulation back in, and then reattach that piece. And let me go get our replacement. Now, in the meantime, now that that's out, I can slide our insulation right over there. There we go. And that line goes back over that insulation. Let me go ahead and finish attaching the insulation here. Okay, here is our nice re-zinc plated part. I'm going to stick that down here. There we go. Now our insulation is back there behind it like it should be. And let me go ahead and trim this to length, and we'll put, from the factory there were a zip tie was here and I think over here, so we'll reapply that too. Boom, there we go. Nice new AC manifold pipe insulation. All right, now we need to just run that retaining bolt back down. There we go. And we need to retighten our vacuum line. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, now we can address our power steering, our cruise control actuator that mounts right there. All right, the way this mounts, now first you'll see I have a zip tie right here through that little loop in the back. What that's for is the diesel return hose is connected right there. I guess it's just kind of to hold it in place so it doesn't flop around. So we'll go ahead, put that on there. Now I'll clip off our excess. And this mounts right here. There we go. Get our diesel return hose. All right, perfect. Now let me clip off our excess. Perfect. All right, I'll tighten those down. All right, good. Now let's get our cruise control actuator. And there's a zip tie that connects around it. I'll show you. That's a factory zip tie right there, and they're reusable, so I'm going to reattach that. All right, this other zip tie is right under here. Like that. And that's the factory Mercedes zip tie. They're reusable. All right, there we go. That goes there. Now before we cinch that down, I'm going to go ahead and mount the cruise control module with 3 little 10 millimeters. There's one that goes there. Man, it's pouring down rain out there. You can probably hear it in the camera. All right, now we can pull our cable tight here and cinch down our zip tie. There we go, guys. That's how Mercedes routed it. Okay, let's go ahead and get our cruise control linkage installed. I'll lubricate it. And let me get my channel locks. There we go. And then it goes underneath here. Lubricate it. Come around here. There we go. Like that. And then mounts back there. All right, guys, that technically completes our throttle linkage. Check this out. Look how nice and smooth all that is. All right, guys, the next items we need to do are the power steering lines here, because those were zinc plated fittings, our oil cooler retaining bracket, and our radiator and fan shroud clips. Now for the oil cooler bracket, that's just a 10 millimeter. We can just pull that straight out like that. And then it just slips up, and let me get our replacement. All right, now let's screw that back in. There we go. Now here's the radiator clips. Let me show you guys these. Right here, we have these zinc plated clips. Here, and then there's the fan shroud clips. So we'll go ahead and pop these out. And the way you get these out, guys, you just get a flat bladed screwdriver under there. And you just kind of pry up on that side. We'll go over here, pry up on that side. And you just work it out. There we go. Now, there's a rubber grommet right here. Make sure you leave that there, because that is what the clip goes around. There we go. Now we get our fan shroud clip out here. And we put our replacement on here. Beautiful. Doesn't that look so much better? All right, let me go ahead and get these two out over on that side. Okay, we got the clips reinstalled, oil cooler, radiator fan shroud. I also put in the little screws that hold the air filter housing. And there we go, it's starting to look really nice in here. Now we need to come over here and move to the power steering lines. Now, as part of this process, I want to change the power steering fluid, because if I have it in there when I undo the lines, it's going to spill everywhere. So in this video, we're also going to do oil change, power steering fluid change, coolant. We're going to drain the radiator, and I'm going to check the transmission fluid. I don't know if it's been changed or not. If it's dirty, we're going to change it. If it's bright red, we're going to leave it alone. Jefferson, were you outside in that rain? Because you're soaking wet, buddy. You were soaking wet. Were you laying in the rain? You ready to do some zinc plating on the power steering lines? All right. Okay, this is my fluid extractor, and we're going to go ahead and empty out this power steering reservoir. And when I disconnect the lines from the steering box, it's going to drain out the steering box below. But also, we want to change, let's see, yeah, that fluid is relatively new, but we're going to go ahead and suck it out anyway. That way I don't make a mess when I'm changing these fittings here. And we're also going to put in a new power steering filter. That's one of the most neglected items on these cars, because it's down there in the bottom and nobody ever thinks about it. There we go. And then this comes off along with a spring underneath it. We'll set this aside. And down there in the bottom is our power steering filter. Okay, I can see this one has been changed once before. This car was being well maintained. This is a Hengst filter. So that's relatively new. That's the same type of filter I like to use. And I'll show you. Here we go. That's Hengst filter E26H. And yeah, it's the same exact thing. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this one out of here and then drain this reservoir, and then we'll put back in our new one later when we refill it. All right, I've got the air compressor connected here, and let me go ahead and turn on the extractor. There you go. It's going to suck all this fluid out of here. Yeah, that fluid's looks really good. It was freshly changed. I can tell this car was being regularly serviced. All the fluids were already fresh in it, but I bet you that transmission fluid is bright red. Okay, now that'll make it where we don't spill fluid everywhere when we undo these lines right here. All right, we're going to do an oil and coolant change, but I just want to see if this is fresh transmission fluid or not. Because if it's bright red, total waste of time to change this. Yeah, that's what I suspected. Guys, that is bright red transmission fluid. There's absolutely no reason to change that. But yeah, of course you can't tell on the oil or the coolant, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, that's bright red fluid, guys. That stuff is fresh. Okay, guys, you can't see this, but down here at the steering box, I'm actually undoing the connections. Okay, now for disconnecting these up here. Let's see, this one is a 19 millimeter, and I like to use these line wrenches just so I get some extra grip and don't risk messing it up. There we go. And then we can finish it off with a regular 19 millimeter. All right, this is the low pressure line. Go ahead and get this guy out of here. Oh, what's important is notice how the lines are routed. Your low pressure line goes over the AC manifold and underneath the vacuum line. If you don't route it that way, when you reinstall it, it's going to rub against one of these lines and you'll rub a hole in them. So that goes over the AC manifold line, under the vacuum line. Now, your high pressure line, let me go ahead and get this out of here. There we go. Your high pressure line runs over the vacuum manifold and then down the back. And this one is a 17 millimeter. And I like to come in here again with a line wrench so I can get a good grip on it. Because these are always in there tight. There we go, got it. And then we can go ahead and finish getting it off with a regular 17 millimeter. All right, there we go. Let's get this one out of here. All right, let me go get our new line with the freshly zinc plated ends. Okay, here's our new line with the freshly plated ends. And guys, these are really, really tricky to get started. I'll see if I can do this on camera, but sometimes this can take me like 20 minutes to get one of these threaded. Maybe it'll be my lucky day today. Oh my, I thought I had it. Yeah, it's just so tough. Maybe that got it. Holy cow. Oh my God, it went in. Guys, sometimes that takes me 20 minutes to get those threads to start. Extremely difficult to get these power steering because they're fine thread and it's just awkward how you got to get them in there. Wow, that's amazing. Okay. So I'm going to go down here and attach it down at the pump. Attach it down at the steering box. Okay, guys, that's my lucky day. I don't think I've ever gotten one in that easy. All right, that's the high pressure line. Now, when you tighten it down, you want to make sure it's not touching your vacuum line here. There we go. So we need to route it right there in order for that to be true. Okay, let me get the low pressure line with the new ends on it. All right, just while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and stick our new power steering filter back in there. Okay, we have our low pressure line here with the zinc plated parts and zinc plated clamps and the X applied just like it was from the factory. Okay, notice how everything's routed. This is over the AC manifold and under the vacuum line. That's over the vacuum line. Nothing is touching. All right, I'm going to go ahead and torque all that down and we are finished with that part. And I forgot to apply my factory X on this one. From the factory, they both had X's right like that. I think that's to maybe signify that they were properly torqued down. But anyway, they are now reapplied on those original, on the original fittings with the correct X's on the hoses. All right, guys. Next, we want to remove the battery tray, refinish this, and put in our new retaining brackets that have been zinc plated. Here we go. There's the ones we just took out of the car, you know, crusty from years of battery acid getting on them and whatnot. And here is what they look like when I'm done with the plating. That's back to factory original. So we'll get those back on there. And also want to go ahead and remove the battery, clean up the battery tray. Battery trays always get crusty underneath them because of the, you know, just years of having batteries in and out of the car. And these batteries do always leak a little, and they'll get battery acid on there. So we'll clean that up. This is actually a new battery in here. All right, now to get that out, it helps to peel back your gasket right there. That's your hood sealing gasket. These things are so damn heavy. Ah, there we go. Jeez. Okay, we got all kinds of leaves and debris and dirt under here. So I want to wash that in the parts washer and refinish it the semi-gloss black. And these trays are held in with just two 13mm nuts back here. All right, good. Now we can get this tray out of here. All right, there we go. All right, now we want to clean under the battery tray. There's always a lot of dirt and debris that builds up underneath there. Oh yeah, this one's rock solid. There's no rusting or anything under here. Hang on, I'll show you guys in a second. Let me get this dirt cleaned out of here. All right, there we go. Guys, this is beautiful under this battery tray. Rock solid. That's a common rust area because if people's drains are not clear and drain and they can drain properly. Remember earlier in the video when I was pressure washing the car, I showed you that drain right there, and they were in fact clear. So yeah, there's no rust or anything that's formed down here. Now from the factory, Mercedes would apply this Cosmoline wax under here to protect it. You can see a little is left over right there. See this? There you go. It's like it's gotten black and kind of nasty. But I'm going to clean up here a little better, and then we're going to reapply the Cosmoline wax under here so it won't have any issues in the future. Okay, I went ahead and wiped it down under here, just kind of cleaned up the hoses and sway bar and stuff. Let me get the Cosmoline and show you what this stuff is. There we go, I found this stuff. This is ultra tough, long-lasting rust preventative, and it's the heavy formula. And I found this is the exact same stuff that Mercedes used. Now they make a couple of different brands. I mean, a couple different types. This is the translucent, which is that golden brown that Mercedes used. So let me reapply this exactly where they did at the factory and show you. All right, guys, that's a pretty good view. And the factory, when they applied the Cosmoline, they would spray it right along there. They would let it would drip down, and then they would spray it back here in this corner, just like that. All right, now, and we're gonna let that dry, and that'll make a wax coating. Let me show you guys. Now it's wet right now, but it'll dry into like a gooey, waxy substance. I actually showed it to you guys in the trunk when I was doing the antenna. Now where they would also apply it, you can actually see some is still left over back here. They would shoot it back into these drain areas. So I'm just reapplying it exactly where they put it. And see, you can see some right there. See, it's like dried up and gotten crusty in there. We're gonna reapply it all back through there and all back up in there. There we go. That's exactly how they did it. See, right there, see how it's dripping down right there from when they did it at the factory? We'll just put some right back in there. Guys, that's exactly how they would do that. Let me go ahead and apply it to the other side over here, and that'll, since I've already cleaned all this out and prepped it, it'll last for many, many years and keep the car protected. All right, we're over here on the driver's side, and you can see it's all dried out. See it back in there? See that Cosmoline? That's that wax. So we did pressure wash all this area and clean it out real good, and I'm just going to reapply. Mercedes would coat this stuff real liberally all up in here. There we go. Nice, and get some right in here. There we go. Now they also would do it right up in here. There we go. See how that's now coated in there? Now that's going to dry overnight, and then it'll turn into that nice waxy thick substance, and it's a great rust inhibitor. Let me show you over here. This stuff is starting to dry. There you go. See that all back in there? Oop, I can get it back in that corner. There we go. Perfect. Okay, let's go over and clean up our battery tray. We're going to sand it down and refinish it. All right, guys, we're over here at the parts washer. And what we want to do is clean up this battery tray real good, and then we want to sand down. See, there's surface rust right around here. However, the tray is solid. The tray hasn't rusted. We got surface rust in the corner and on the back, and we want to sand that off and then refinish it. And what we want to do, we want to take, we have a 150 grit sanding disc, and we want to sand all that down and then clean it in the parts washer again and then refinish it. Clean that off, see how much more we got to go. There you go, see how we've gotten it down to bare metal, but still need to do some more sanding to get the rest of the areas down to bare metal. So this is going to take me a minute, guys. I got to keep sanding and washing, and then I'll go ahead and refinish it, and I'll come back when I'm done. And I'll just show you this one area right here, how we can get it down to the bare metal. There you go. See, you got bare metal that comes through when you sand off the surface rust. Anyway, I gotta work on this. I'll be back in a minute. All right, guys, I've got it all sanded down, and I'm applying a red oxide primer. This is a rust protector. It's called Zero Rust, and I did a lot of research on this stuff probably 10 years ago or so, and this is excellent. I've actually coated the undercarriage of muscle cars with this stuff, because from the factory, muscle cars used a red oxide primer, and this stuff is fantastic. So this is going to protect it in the future. We'll just do a couple more coats here, and then we're going to finish it in the semi-gloss black, just like Mercedes did from the factory. Okay, we are done refinishing the battery tray. That will last for the next 40 years, and we're good to go. Let's go ahead and get this put back in the car. There we go. All right, let's get that screwed back in here. We'll get our battery back in. All right, got the battery back in. The next thing we want to put in is our Zinc plated hold down brackets, and they just go here, and there's one that also goes right over here, and then 10mm nuts just go on top of those. Okay, got that done. Now it's time to move to the air filter housing assembly. Okay, the air filter housing assembly is in outstanding condition. I'm going to clean it up in the parts washer, and we're going to replace these clips with our new zinc plated clips. However, there's one thing I noticed. There is a sticker here that one of the previous owners installed. Stop, do not discard. This is a lifetime air filter. One of the previous owners put an extremely nice, expensive K&N air filter. I used to use these in my race car. These are extremely nice air filters, and they can be removed and cleaned and reinstalled. They're basically lifetime filters. So we definitely want to keep this. This is a real nice air filter, but I want to get this sticker off of here so it's, you know, it looks factory original on the air cleaner housing lid. And I'm going to do that by just applying a little heat and pulling off that sticker. Guys, this is just my Wagner heat gun. And to get stickers off of, if you have one on your bumper or your window or your air filter housing lid, it's pretty easy to heat them up. It makes the glue go soft again, and then you can get them off of here. Good, that came right off. All right, let's go ahead and get this cleaned up and get some of that residue off of there. There's where that glue residue was right there, and this part's washer solvent. We'll take that right off. Okay, this is all cleaned up, and the last thing I want to show you is, see, here's our new zinc plated retaining clips for the lid. That's how they came from the factory. You can see there's still a little zinc left on this one, but it's mostly worn off. But to take these off, you simply grab it right there and you pull that side out and it just comes right out. And then we can reattach our new one. We'll put that side in right there, and then we just grab it with some needle nose and pull it in there. See how much nicer that looks? All right, let me go ahead and finish it around the other three here, and then we'll get it back on the car. Okay, there we go. Got our nice clips back on there. Let's put this back on the car. All right, before I reinstall the air cleaner housing here, we want to inspect, these are the housing bushings. Now, I can clearly see that the previous owner was maintaining the vehicle. These are brand new. These have already been replaced. But these guys are designed to absorb the vibration from the engine up to the air filter housing assembly. And they're also designed to break. You're gonna have to replace these about once a year. To replace them, you simply just screw them out of here. They're just screwed in, and you can just unscrew them. But they're designed to break, because if this air filter housing was permanently mounted, like hard mounted, it would cause the vibration to go into this bracket, which is attached to your intake manifold, and it would eventually crack your intake manifold. So that's why the engineers put these absorbent rubber bushings and designed them to fail, because these bushings will fail instead of cracking your intake manifold. Now, like I said, these are brand new. They do not need to be replaced, but expect to do this, once a year or so. Now, the way these mount, this front section goes down onto your turbo. I'm going to go and take this tube off here. And guys, all you do is stick it down here and connect it to the front of the turbo. Let's move all these hoses out of the way. There we go. That's it. That just plugs in to the front of the turbo. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. There we go. See, I haven't pushed it on fully. There's the front of the turbo, and this just pushes right onto the turbo. And then those little studs that we saw on those bushings, you just slide this onto the turbo, and then it goes down and mounts right onto the studs, which are right there. There we go. Now we just screw those back in, put the 10mm nuts back on there. Okay, before we attach our accordion tube, we're going to go ahead. This is the band clamp that holds this pipe to the air filter housing assembly. We're just going to tighten that one back down. All right, there we go. Now there's another one right down here. You can't see it, but I have to access it from the side here. There we go. And we're going to screw this one back down. This is the one that goes on the front of the turbo. Okay, once it's back on here, there are 3 little 10mm nuts, and we're going to screw those back onto those studs. There we go. there's one there, and there's one there. And we'll tighten those down. Those hold it to those grommets or those bushings. All right, then the final piece here, you put your accordion tube right here, and that goes right onto the front. There we go. Now let's go ahead and get our filter back in. And this is our very nice K&N air filter. Guys, these things are expensive. Pop that in there. Now let's go get our lid. All right, the lid just goes right on here. And we attach our clips around the edges. There we go. And then we put our 10mm nut back on the top. All right, next thing we need to do is reattach our breather tube, which goes right there. Now, this end right here is just a press fit. It clips on here. There we go. All right, now Mercedes from the factory, they would put a zip tie right here to hold it to this little pedestal. So let me go ahead and get that. There we go. That's the factory original reusable Mercedes zip tie. There we go. Right like that. All right, last couple of things we're going to do here is fill up the power steering fluid and change our oil and filter. Now, for power steering fluid, you want to use Dex Merc automatic transmission fluid, and it's Dexron 3. I don't know if you can see this in the camera. There we go. GM Dexron 3. That's the correct stuff to use. Now I'm going to have to bleed the air bubbles out of the system, but we'll go ahead and top her off right now. You see the air bubbles coming out of there. Okay, let's go back here. Get our oil filter out. It's just two 13mm. Now you have to watch out for your vacuum lines when you're doing this. All your vacuum lines run through here, and if you pop one loose, just make sure you reconnect it. And to get your filter lid off, you do have to kind of push all your vacuum lines to the side, move that hose out of the way. It can be pretty tricky to get these off of here. There we go. All right, there's our filter cap. We'll take that off. And then the filters have a handle on the top. So we'll just grab our handle and we'll pull our filter out of here. There we go. Okay guys, I like to use Hank's filters or Man filters. Those are made in Germany. And first we want to get our O-ring. Now our O-ring is not there. It stayed stuck to the engine. So let me go grab that. There we go. This is the O-ring, and that was still laying on the filter housing. So it's important you get that O-ring off, and all new filters come with a new O-ring and a new crush washer. So let's go ahead and get this filter on here. There we go. And you will receive, there's a crush washer for the oil pan. There we go, there's your copper crush washer. And here is the new sealing O-ring that goes around the filter. Let me put a little oil on this. That just slides down around here and goes around our filter cap, like so. All right, let's go ahead, get our filter back in the car and get this thing filled up with oil. All right, like I mentioned, sometimes it's a little tricky getting these in. You have to watch out for your vacuum lines. So we'll just pull those out of the way to the side here. All right, now I'm just going to check, make sure all my vacuum lines are still connected, which they are. And we'll put our 13mm nuts back on there. Wipe everything down back here. There we go. Now, these 13mm nuts, guys, you just need to snug them up like 10 foot-pounds because they go onto studs. And if you crank them down too tight, you're going to start pulling your studs out and it's not going to seal. and that's not good. So you do not crank these down. Let me show you how tight to make them. We'll snug that side up. You get around here, get around your vacuum lines. All right, there you go. So it bottomed out. We'll just give it one little turn. There you go, guys. You do not need to crank that down. That's all you do. All right, let's go ahead and get this up in the air and drain the pan. Okay, this is where we want to, when we put the bolt back in, the drain plug, we want to make sure we put the crush washer on. This is just a 13 millimeter. So let's crack that loose and go into our drain pan. All right, while that's draining, we'll come over here. We'll put our new copper crush washer that came in the kit. We'll put that on here. That allows it to seal. And we'll get this back on the car. I can tell that this oil was relatively fresh. Now on diesel engines, it turns black immediately on going in the engine because of all the soot that diesel engines produce. But it's pretty obvious this was fresh oil, but you know, you have to change it anyway because you can't tell with oil until you drain it and see what it feels like. All right, let's go ahead and get that torqued back down. And you just snug it up. There we go. All right, let's get some oil back in this guy. Let me wipe off some of this power steering fluid from when I drained the power steering earlier. All right, I also want to drain the coolant, and I've got the car lowered down in a catch can here, and there's just a screw on the bottom of the radiator that we can just simply take out, and that coolant is going to come gushing out of there. Oh, and I see they have the correct Zurex G05 coolant in there. It's got that golden brown orangish color, so that's great. So this coolant was obviously recently changed too. It's obvious the car was being serviced, but with coolant and oil, you know, you don't know until you drain it. Like with the transmission oil, that stuff was bright red, so I'm not going to change that. That should be changed about every 30 to 50,000 miles. So it definitely doesn't need to be changed right now. So let's go ahead and get this out of here, get some oil in there, and then refill the coolant. All right, here is the correct coolant you want to use for these cars, and they already had this in there. It's like a golden color. It's almost the same color as the reservoir, so it's hard to actually see it in the reservoir. But it's Zurex G05. Now there's also, I think there's another one out, G48, that's blue. You can also use that. But this is the good stuff, and this is what you want to put in there. Okay guys, you can kind of see the reservoir fill line right there. See, it's like the same color as the reservoir, but when you're filling these cars, it's also good to detach the upper radiator hose and then pour coolant directly in there, and it helps get the air bubbles out of the system. So we're going to go ahead, get this off here, and I can tell this is a new hose, and it's also a Mercedes hose. All right, we'll just pull that back. And it's okay if you spill a little coolant, guys. You're not going to hurt anything. We're just going to get some right down in here and then quickly reattach it. All right. Let's go ahead and get some oil in here. Then I'm going to bleed the air bubbles out of here off camera, top off that, and then we're good to go. All right, now, guys, the oil I've started using, here you go. It is Lubrication Engineers Monolec engine oil. This is their 15W40. Unless you live in an extremely cold climate, you always want to use 15W40 in these cars. And this is for diesel engine oils. Now, Lubrication Engineers makes great stuff. They're like a boutique oil company. I used to use their stuff in my race car when I was professionally racing at the national level. I also used their transmission fluid. And the reason we did in racing is because of the ability for this oil to withstand heat without breaking down. It is outstanding stuff. Guys, I'm going to put up Clay's contact information. I don't get paid. I don't get any money for this. I'm just telling you what I really like to use. And if you contact him, he'll tell you where you can get it locally or buy directly from Clay at Lubrication Engineers. And I think you guys get like a 10% discount if you mention Woods and Barclay. They take about 2 gallons, or not quite 2 gallons. So we'll go ahead and fill it up, check our dipstick, let it settle, check our dipstick again, then top it off. All right, without cranking the car, I'm going to go in there and turn the steering wheel back. It's on the lift, so the wheels are off the ground. And I'm going to turn the steering wheel left and right, and we're going to purge the air bubbles out of our power steering. You have to do that like 10 times or so to get the air out of the system. All right, I'm going to do that a few more times, get the air bubbles out of there and put our cap back on. There we go. All right, while we're waiting on the oil to settle, since we changed all these injector lines, there's now air in the fuel system, so the car will not start. So what we have to do is purge the air or bleed the air out of the fuel system. Now, the easiest way to do this, if you go right here to your main fuel filter housing, and right there, there's an out arrow and an in arrow. We want to do the out arrow. We want to crack this loose, and then we want to crank the car. It takes about 30 seconds. It'll purge the air out, and diesel fuel will start coming out of here. And then we tighten it back up, and the car should fire right up. Okay, I'll try to record this. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see the diesel coming out, but I'm going to get a wrench right down here. There we go. And we're just going to crack that loose. There we go. You don't need to remove it. We're just loosening it. Okay. There we go. That fuel line is now loose. Now I want to turn the car over. It's going to take about 30 seconds. We'll purge the air out, and diesel will start squirting out of there. And it's okay, guys. It doesn't hurt anything. You just wipe it up when you're done. Okay, that actually started coming out quick. I could see it from inside the car. So good, we don't have a lot of air in there. So let me tighten this back down, and we're gonna get her fired up. Okay, the final thing I'm gonna do before starting it is I want to change my pre-fuel filter. Now I can already see that's a new filter on there. We don't need to change the main fuel filter, but I see a little dirtiness in that pre-fuel filter. And guys, I always keep one of these in my glove box. Because those filter out the gunk from diesel fuel, and diesel fuel is dirty. And when those start to get clogged up, you'll just lose power. And your first thought will be, oh my God, there's something wrong with my engine. And you'll be going, you know, it'll be floored and you can only go like 40 miles an hour. There's nothing wrong with the car. That is a symptom of needing to change your pre-fuel filter. Now that's why we put our primer pump on here, is because that primer pump, once you change it, you prime it, pushes the fuel back into the filter. So let me go ahead and put a fresh one on there. All right, guys, I know you can't see down in there, but there's just two little hose clamps for a hose that goes on this side and this side. And I like to use Hengst because you can see through these and see when they're starting to get really dirty. So let me go down, and you get those clamps off with just a little stubby screwdriver, which I've already loosened it. And guys, you're gonna get diesel everywhere when doing this. It's inevitable. All right, there's our old filter. We'll just toss that over here, and we'll put our new filter in here. Okay, we have our new filter right there, and then we can use our thumb primer pump right here. We'll just prime it, and it fills it back up all the way with diesel. All right, there we go. All right, guys, we are officially done. We're gonna fire it up in a second for you, but look how beautiful this is. That is how to properly restore the engine compartment of an 85 300 CD. It just came out amazing. All the zinc plating is intact. Redid the battery tray, reapplied all the cosmoline coating in the same place as the factory did. All the zinc plated lines over here. Just looks absolutely beautiful. All right, let's go fire it up. And it might take a few seconds to get the fuel back into the injectors, but I bet you it's gonna fire up pretty quickly. And then it's off to the detail shop because my fingerprints are all over this car. All right, now keep in mind we got to watch for the fuel, the oil pressure to come up, and that'll take a second also. All right, we're going to start for a second. We should get it to fire up here in about, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. Oh, she wanted to go. Fuel is getting back in there. Let's do it one more time. Almost. All right, let's go for it again. Still getting the air bubbles out of the system. There we go. Haha, come on, baby. Still got some air in the system. There we go. All right, we're just gonna let it run for a minute. We'll give it a little gas here in a second. There we go. Takes a minute to get those air bubbles out of the system, guys, when you do this. But they are out now. We'll let it circulate for a second. All right, I just shut her off. I wanted to show you now that the air is out of the system. Watch how easy she fires up. Let the glow plug cycle. Those air pockets make it very difficult, but we're good to go. Let's go check out our beautiful work up here. Guys, look at that. Look how smooth that engine is. Perfect valve adjustment. Look at our beautiful linkage. Fantastic. Now, for a healthy vacuum system, if you remember in the last video, we were working on engine shutoff. So engine shutoff is vacuum controlled. So on a healthy vacuum system, which we've fixed everything and it's good to go, Mercedes says you should have a 2-second maximum engine shutoff. Watch how quick this one is. Ready? 1/1000. We got it down to 1 second, fellas. All right, guys, that's it for this video. This afternoon, I'm taking it up to the alignment shop. Hope you enjoyed the restoration and refurbishment series on this car. Stay tuned for the test drive and the walk around. We'll see you later.